Hello, my name is Brant, and today is the 28th day of November. And my title of my talk today is What is Technocracy? And some of the information that I'm going to draw from are from basically three books here. And this is Neil Postman, as he talks about it. And he speaks of simply what I would call simply is that the belief in science that those who continue to push this agenda seek to eliminate government. In other words, the scientists and those who have the technology can rule mankind, unlike governments, in a far worse way. So this is one of the books. Another book is from a gentleman here. It talks about the what I would call the the ins and outs of what's taking place here in America, and this is by Tom DeLuise. And this is part of the Agenda 21 program and how to, again, to control mankind and how it's being done on the local area. That is your local city councils, your mayors, your county councils who are buying into this, thinking that this is important. And probably the best work out there is this particular book by Patrick M. Wood, Technocracy Rising, the Trojan Horse of Global Transformation. Let me just make a statement, okay? As a poli-sci major in college and a history minor, which I enjoy history, so it's not a minor to me, is that this was already implemented even when I was in college. There was this grand scheme or grand vision for the future that we would be well off if we would have a world government or a global government to better mankind. And at age probably 21 years old, I knew that something was wrong. If I have a huge problem with the way the government is going now in Washington, that is being the capital of the country, how in the world is it going to be better for me if the country I live in, the United States, being better off, or anybody else, it being located in Europe, the capital? How in the world would I be able to even connect with people, you see? That was the farce to me, okay? And this is how it's transformed. It's been going on for since the 70s. Part of it is from the Club of Rome, the 300 members that were involved to mastermind a way of actually bringing people into this particular utopian perspective, as they would call it, to make things easy for mankind. Anyone who promises you a utopia are liars. Okay, I'm just going to make that statement. Anyone who claims that the utopia would be better for mankind is a fucking liar. And the problem simply is that they think they know what this is all about, and many people are following this without even realizing that this is going to be far worse than anything else in their dreams, or their nightmares, I should say. So, what part of the Tom DeLuise deals with this is how they've set this up to gradually start from the local levels instead of from the top down, now from the bottom up, a different perspective. And I've been to one of the meetings here many years ago, claiming that they would be entertaining ideas, when in reality they wasn't interested in giving you any. They weren't interested in hearing your ideas. It was just a way of them controlling the whole talk. It's they have someone that cleverly comes in, and they already bought into the whole idea, and they want you to put your energy into that idea as being a utopia for the future. So let's explain what this whole program is. Try to explain some things here. I know that I have 25 or 30 minutes to talk about this, maybe longer, but I'm not going to go long. Um, it's it's a religion. It's not only a religion; it's a religion of science, and it's a religion of technology. Are you aware that you actually are creating your own hell here? Are you? Are you aware that you continue to buy into their plans? Are you aware that they've been controlling you for a long time? I'll tell you how they control you. They control you by, one is education. Another one simply is the media, that is television, um, radio in the past still is somewhat, and a lesser media is actually the newspapers, which is more on the local level on the small towns. The idea simply is that those who were involved in this were involved in at Columbia University, which is no surprise. Some of the worst universities I think out there is Columbia University, where they put these false notions into people's heads that they want a utopia. We also know that University of Chicago is also involved in this, and so is University of California, Berkeley. So how does this work? How does this all go work? Well, part of it is what we call tax-exempt foundations is involved. We also have what we call think tanks. Oh, here's some think tanks. Heritage Foundation, the Rand Corporation, and many others. As a poli-sci major in college, I knew of some of these organizations. I did not know of the Rand Corporation until lately. The Wilson School is in, I think it's at Stanford as well. So the Herbert Institute at Stanford, MIT, the Wharton School at Penn State. I'm sorry, not Penn State, Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania. And there are many, many or others. And this is where they get the people believing in this particular program that they're planning to be their guinea pigs, to be their spokespersons, to be used in the future to plant seeds. And so part of this was rigged. This goes back to simply was 5013C. That is that groups that do not pay taxes they claim they're nonprofit organizations, but they're actually political entities that are pushing their social order. And so Patrick Wood actually goes into this deeply. And what is going to transpire and what they want is that the politicians will no longer have power. They will be figureheads. They won't have what they call the power to do certain things. The left wing, probably of both political parties, are probably on this bandwagon and want to push their agenda. And part of their agenda simply is that they want to create what I call an energy crisis. In other words, simply is they claim that there's not enough resources out there for everybody. So this is their fear mentality. This is their foundation. This is how they want you to be fearful and that you waste energy. So you're a bad person. So this all goes back, now repeat, this all goes back to blame, shame, and guilt. They have never changed from that program. And what do you mean, Brant? Why are you saying this? Well, religion does the same thing. Religion itself blames you and shames you and makes you feel guilty about something. You see, when reality simply is you may not be guilty at all. Part of that plan simply is with the church. It sowed seeds so simply is that you're a sinner. You see, so with this plan from the religion of Christianity is still being implemented today. So you're seen as a bad person now. This is people don't realize they're even pushing this agenda. They're pushing this agenda, not knowing what they're doing to their fellow man. Part of this simply is those who eat meat are bad people. You're not a good person when you eat meat. So we have to eventually eliminate that source for you to eat. And so this is why you have this strong push towards veganism. I don't have any problem with vegetables. I don't have any problem with fruit. I don't have any problem with meats or even breads. The problem simply is that the food is no longer good anymore because it's been controlled by the corporations who now grow the food. It is no longer mom and dad growing the food or such and such. And one of the best things you can do, taking power over this, is to grow your own food and have your own water source also. But see, this is by them coming in, by what I call NGOs, this is non-government officials, who have power now to come in and begin to regulate certain things. For example, that's why they have the smart meter on your source of power that you get at your house. It's done that way simply is that eventually, if you don't agree with their agenda, they'll just simply cut your power off. You see. And the other thing simply is that even though you have plenty, you pay your bills on time, you will still, if you voice your opinions, they will eventually push you down and eliminate you, and you keep your voice silent. That's why political correctness is going on. That's why it's been going on since probably the early 90s. Political correctness is simply a idea that's so biased, and it makes you feel again, hear it again, that you are to blame, you're ashamed, and you're guilty. You fucking liars, you do this shit. You're sick, okay? You really are sick that push this agenda. And I'm sorry, but I've got to express my feelings about this. And that's why I'm on here. There are so many people out here who think they're doing the right thing when they're actually violating natural law. Violating it. You see, part of the political process, and that's what's happened here in America, is you have two political parties. Oh, there are other minority parties, but they never, ever really, quote unquote, are getting to any primetime players. In other words, they never get a chance to be on television, never get a chance to be in media because they're scorned. They're not, the media doesn't accept them. And I've actually been involved in those minority parties in the past. I've come to realize simply is it's all rigged. Everything's rigged, you see. And now simply is you used to thought that, I say this, you thought that you simply could steal an election by simply stealing at maybe at a polling place. Now you don't have to worry about stealing at one particular precinct or two or three or whatever. Now it simply is they can steal it through computerized hacking into the system or whatever and stealing the election. And no one would even know, you see. You know, there's what they call back doors with computer programming. So someone has the password or whatever can go in and go in back door on the program and change things. You're all been asleep here. You've been asleep for a long time. You're not aware of what's going on right around you. So what is taking place with this COVID-19 is their plan. It's a devious plan too, because no one's really dying of the virus whatsoever. Oh yeah, other people are dying, yes, but not from this particular virus at all. It's a clever plan for the government itself, and eventually those that will come in, NGOs, and will begin to control you more and more. And if you don't agree with their agenda, you will be prevented from either getting power, water, all the necessities that you might need to live. We're not even talking about a job, because they would eliminate you that too. They've already done that. They've already proven that. Here in the state of South Carolina, there was, this has probably been 10 years ago, not longer, the South Carolina Electric and Gas Company actually got rid of their employees, or threatened their employees, if they had a rebel flag on their car or sticker, whatever you want to call it. They were going to get rid of them. And as long as you kept that on there, they would get rid of you. And so most people needed a job. So they took those stickers off, or those flags off their cars. And I'm not saying that I agree with what the rebel flag is. That's freedom of speech, folks. You may not agree with it, but that's freedom of speech. That gives the right of the minorities, whoever they may be, that can say something. They don't agree with certain things. But see, this is about controlling you. You see, they're directing you into a chute here, like a cow. You see, the Republican Party and Democrat Party, they're two chutes, but eventually they lead to one wing. You see, because there's only, with people think, oh, it's got two wings, but in reality, it's one bird. One bird. I shouldn't say one wing, but you know what I'm saying. And so what's transpired is simply people are actually do not see what's really going on here, as clever language is used, with language that simply is no longer, against, like the word gender. When I went to school, when I went to college, whenever I looked for a job, it was about what sex are you? Because we knew that I was either a male or a female. Because of our bodies. But that was introduced back in the 50s with those who are cleverly involved in psychology. You see, they're playing games with you. So people who want to change their gender now can be a boy, they can be a girl, they can be whatever they want to be now, which goes against all of what I would call even nature itself. So what's, and I'm kind of digress, so I don't want to get, so the whole game here again is how they play this, is they haven't changed their game plan here, folks, for over 2,000 years. It's simply blame, shame, and guilt. They use that to herd the people to a certain direction. And most people they know something's wrong, but they can't figure it out. They're afraid. Well, you're afraid might be already a red flag. Something's wrong here. Something's not right. And now, with what is transpiring here in 2020, is even far more powerful, because now they can use an excuse not of your simply political affiliation or your religious affiliation, but simply is that the greater need for those who are sick. That is those who have this COVID-19, supposedly, you see. And how they use this now in the media cleverly, with people wearing a mask and making it a social acceptable. And how they come to what I call the corporated cities, that is incorporated. They're corporations, that's what they are. Cities are corporations, folks. I hate to tell you that, but that's the truth. Because they're incorporated. And the only places that are non-incorporated are actually free places, small towns that don't have some bureaucrat ruling them, or even city council members being involved. So this is how they're cleverly disguising this the whole time here. And they're going to use all kinds of tools to keep you from being free. And we know that's already taking place with the decimation of jobs in this country. There are no longer any jobs, folks. I probably live in probably some of the best areas of the country, work-wise, that people are still working. Well, part of that's the reason why they're playing of Agenda 21. Do you understand that? If you look at maps, the southeastern corridor is part of what I would call basically Raleigh, Charlotte, Greenville, Spartanburg area of South Carolina, all the way down to Atlanta, and eventually to either areas of Birmingham, Alabama. A whole little swoop of what I would call maybe, 65 miles, 75 miles to, swoop. And those are where the jobs are going to be at here in the Southeast. That's where the plants are going to be at. In other areas, we know this is happening. Areas that what we call small towns are going to be eliminated. They're not going to be places you can get to. They're already doing that. You say, what are you talking about? Because these populations, see, this is another thing's really happening here in the United States. People have left the small towns because there's no jobs there. This has all been created. This is done on purpose, folks. All of it. I can go down where I was born, and there are no jobs there anymore. There are less than 20,000 people that live in the whole county. I looked at a population map here in South Carolina, for example. There are 5.3 million people now live in South Carolina, one of the fastest states in the United States. Well, actually, the fastest growing state on the East Coast. Actually, east of the Mississippi. South Carolina is the fastest growing state. It's the 10th state. The rest are actually out west. Look it up. Now, I didn't say that their population was greater than South Carolina or whatever. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying the areas that are fast growing. Well, the reason why is South Carolina is what I would call a right-to-work state. So there are hardly any unions here in South Carolina, as the South has always been anti-union for a long time. Because they saw the devastation that sometimes unions do to actually destroy companies. Their own jobs, they destroy them. Look it up. I'm not saying it's wrong to have a union. I'm saying simply is that the unions can be downright dirty. And I know why they were built for. I know why it was brought about for, to eliminate what I call the powerful management that was coming down on them. And they were not being able to actually survive. They were being treated like trash and slaves. So I understand that part. But it's gone the other way. The pendulum swung the other way, and unions have actually destroyed this country. The plan is simply, as you look around, there's a book out there by a gentleman. I'm trying to think his name right now. It'll come to me. He basically said the America was designed to decline, and it is. Ever since the treaty that was passed, the North American Free Trade Agreement, the United States is just disappearing. Manufactured jobs are disappearing tremendously. They're going across the borders. Most of them are going to Mexico simply because of cheap labor. And they can import the product back in without a tax, import tax. So this is what you're seeing here. So, but I've kind of got off subject. But I want to understand, you got to understand, this doesn't happen at happenstance here, folks. This has been planned. The manufacturing sector, I worked for a company my father owned. We sold industrial products. And you say, well, what is that? And I'm saying, well, that was the tooling that was used in milling machines lays what we would call the basics of what I would call a manufacturing, the foundation of manufacturing, that eventually allow other companies to have what I call molds, fixtures to be able to machinery built so that they could be productive. And there were toolings that were used for that, to design that and build it by machinists and engineers. That's gone, folks. I don't know if you understand something else that took place. The technology of the nuclear power, which I'm not exactly for, is that we can't find anybody who's nuclear engineers anymore, because guess what? There hardly anybody building nuclear power plants in this country anymore. The Obama administration made sure of that, to push that, to nuclear power, to eliminate coal power. So one of our most valuable natural resources, that is coal, is being sold abroad. And it's only being sold those companies that will be a part of their plan. Other companies that were not a part of their plan, they're gone. They're eliminated. You know, like, say, for example, I remember the company called Peabody Coal Company, which was involved a long, long time ago. We're talking probably 100 years ago. I doubt that those coal fields are open anymore. And the coal fields in Pennsylvania are almost all closed. And the ones in Ohio, West Virginia. And West Virginia is a state that's tremendously depressed. So is Eastern Kentucky, Eastern Tennessee. So this is a whole deal, you see. You don't go along with their plan, you're eliminated. Same way, if you remember here in the United States in the 80s when family farms were destroyed. It was a plan. It was incorporated by the banks. You see? So this has all been destructive to destroy this whole country. Because you had to eliminate the United States economically in order to bring about a new world order. And then, yet, our military has been used, and this is true, it's been used to be involved in foreign affairs that had nothing to do with people basically upsetting them and giving them freedom. It's quite the opposite. Look what's happened. Look what's happened, how our military is being used. Our military should be used simply as not to expand our horizons and be a one world power, that is the United States. It should have been here to protect the people. And it actually should have been downcasted down and not what it is today. We have over 300 bases in the world, you see. And you could do that if you had the economic power to do that. But there's no economic power there anymore, folks. You see, this is a crumbling empire. That's what's coming down. So going back to these organizations and the NGOs and these private non-profit organizations, these are the groups that are actually been involved. They're actually involved in Europe tremendously. They have power already in Europe. Not yet to the power of the government, but they're getting there. And so you can see how government, there's a negativity towards government now. You see, this is because government's created their own problems because they have allowed these other people to buy them off. I mean, come on, think about it. Here in South Carolina. In South Carolina, two people running for office for U.S. Senate. And there's $100 million spent on both candidates, not together, individually. They got that much money to eliminate one person and get someone else in. So, for an office that pays probably, I'm guessing, less than $250,000 a year. I used to know these things. At one time, the President of the United States, when I was a kid, he got no more than $200,000 a year. These are political buybacks. These are political people who buy a politician so he'll be in office so that he will get his scratch back. In other words, he gets money, and then when he gets in office, he'll help them out. And that's why you see no one who actually helps the common man anymore. It's all against him. It's destructive. It's all about greed and destruction. And that's what's happened. We've destroyed ourselves from within. There's no foreign power as a threat to us. Hasn't been for a long time. Oh yeah, we've been told that, the Soviet Union, this and that was used as a ploy for the United States eventually to spend all its money on, creating weapons to eliminate the Soviet Union. And I'm sure the Soviet Union was told the same thing, with the United States being the threat. So Soviet Union worked itself to death, or whatever you want to call it, building all these weapons, that they forgot about the infrastructure of their own country and the needs of their own people. It was all about building what it was called a military industrial power. That's what it was in the Soviet Union. And that's what it's transferred probably since the 80s on the Reagan administration, is that what we become. We're becoming a military industrial empire. So what happens simply is there are no jobs. There are less and less jobs for people. I know that these statistics don't lie. At one time in the 70s, early 80s, 80% of the jobs were from small businesses. So 8 out of 10 people worked at a small business of less than 10 I would say 25 or less people. That's gone, folks. That's gone. Totally gone. We're talking about family restaurants. We're talking about businesses like a garage, a service station. We're talking about a motel that was family owned. We're talking about radio stations that used to be owned by a family. They're gone. Completely gone. And it's all corporate. Farmers, same way. Same thing. And you got to realize this is done on purpose to destroy a country from within. And the fuckers who greed, who want to take everything away from everybody, are creating this shit storm that's going on because of wanting more and more, not seeing the big picture here. All they care about is having and controlling themselves. So there are no longer any small grocery stores. You see? That's all been eliminated by the dollar store or Family Dollar. So there's no longer what we call the little guy can go to buy his groceries anymore. And it's all about money. It's all about saving money. I see that. I've seen it in my own lifetime. I see also in what I was involved in, industrial distributor. What I was, my father was the middleman where we bought from the factory and then we made a profit because we kept it in stock and inventory and sold it. And actually we were the salesman also to push that product and get someone to buy it. You don't see any small industrial companies anymore. They're gone. Think about it. Here in America simply is, they're the big boys. W.W. Granger, you see. Or I can't think, Camley Barkley here in the Southeast. All these companies, Manhattan Supply Company, which is from the north. Production Tool Supply. All these companies are large corporations now, companies. And they probably have been eliminated themselves also. So there are less and less competitors, which means that the further you go up, it's like a triangle. There's less and less competition. So I kind of want to explain to you that basically this technocracy is basically what I call a complete rulership of the people. And eventually they'll get to the point of saying simply is that you don't produce anything in our society, so you're not worth living. We need to get rid of you. And that's part of the old age thing here, folks. You see what's going on here? And most people who are old age don't have any family anymore, or they're not able to take care of themselves. You know why? Because families fell apart. There are no longer any families who care about each other. And the church used to be involved in some ways, helping out people. That's hardly ever seen anymore now. And so it's the government that takes care of people. So you're now dependent. And one day, that government will no longer support you. You see? I'm not spreading fear here, folks. I'm just telling you the facts. You can see it handwriting on the wall here, clearly. So I hope that you will look into this information. This is one of the books, probably the best book out there I know. There aren't many books written on this subject, folks. There aren't. And yes, I would grant you, there's a lot of things in here that are somewhat difficult for people to understand. But $20 or whatever less is what you need to do. You need to search these things out and see what's really going on. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.